This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, and welcome to Navigating the Now. I'm Suze Casey, the developer of the belief repatterning technique, and I thought it would be a good opportunity for us to share some things about how we've been navigating through COVID and some ideas that you can try on, and we'll open up for questions um, partway through. And if you're listening to this later, do just pop your questions in to the Facebook page, the Belief Repatterning Facebook page, and we'll answer them next time. So we're doing these once a week on Saturdays, live from quarter to 12 until 12:15 Mountain Time, um, through February and March. Just thought that maybe there was an opportunity for people to kind of connect in. So I've asked Sarah to join me today. Sarah is one of our belief repatterning practitioners, and is based in Edmonton. And Sarah, how did your belief repatterning journey kind of start? Where did how did you get involved with this community?
That's a story that goes back more than 20 years, as you know, because I was familiar with you, Suze, back when you were developing belief repatterning, and I was 16 years old at the time, and or when we really became acquainted. So for all the listeners, Suze is a friend of the family, friends with my parents. And so I actually got to live with Suze for a little while when I was 16 and my parents were on a musical tour. So that was super fun. And then later in my life, after knowing about belief repatterning for all of my adult life, later in my life, after I had gone through much of a roller coaster journey of life with lots of heavy valleys and lots of joyous peaks as well. But it was just the contrast was a lot. And I started using belief repatterning to bring myself back to my center so that I could get connected with who I really am instead of all this stuff that was yo-yoing me around. And then, so that was about 6 years ago. And then 5 years ago, I informed Suze that I wanted to become a practitioner because I had done enough of my own transformation at that to know that I was ready to start helping other people with bringing them back to their centers as well. And so I was the very first person actually in the most recent iteration of the training for practitioners. And it's just been a wonderful journey ever since.
Super. And yes, so I've been training people for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Your dad's wife in particular is how we kind of got connected through there. But yes, in the last 5 years, we've really put it all online and made it really accessible for people. Um, so COVID, what's been like the biggest gift, greatest learning, kind of how have you navigated it?
It's been fun. So I have a twofold answer to this because the biggest gift and the biggest learning are related, but kind of two different things. So the biggest gift for me has actually been that my husband has been home because we have two little ones who are 1 and 4. And in order for me to really focus on my belief repatterning practice and the course that I'm developing and all of these wonderful things that have happened over the past year, I really needed him home to be with the kids because I certainly wasn't any longer able to bring in external childcare. So having him home has allowed us to really navigate our days in a way that provides me with the time. And so that's been like a huge, huge blessing. Um, and also took some time for us to sort that out and figure out what's going to work for me and work for him and work for the kids, which actually brings me to the biggest lesson, which is really, really just letting it be okay to go with the flow and not having really big attachments to expectations of how things are going to look. And that's like in our own household as well as out there in the world, because we have no control over how things are going to look. And if we've got really specific attachments to like, oh, I need it to be this way or I need it to be that way, that's just going to be a world of hurt for anybody who's really stuck with attachment to how things are going to be. So the biggest lesson and learning for my whole household and me has really been to follow our own energy, follow our own flow. And that even includes like whether or not I can get up and work in my office for 4 hours, because with everything that we're processing, with all the energy that's happening out in the world and just our own emotional responses to things, we might not be able to work. So just to let it be okay. If today I'm not going to work, oh, looks like I'm having my Saturday on a Wednesday. No big deal. And then come back into it when I can. And as long as I'm not pushing myself, then I'll have the energy the next day. But if I try to push myself through something when I'm like just not there, and which is, I'm sure, happening for people all over the world all the time right now, is that they wake up to do the things they want to do and they're just like not really there for it, because there's all this emotional processing that just needs to go along. So just letting all of that be okay.
Mm-hmm. And that go with the flow and staying very present to where you are right now and who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's I think this is a wonderful gift worldwide for people to really just get off that little and kind of just take a big breath and go, okay, so what is important for me? I know when it first started, I said to everybody, this is just like, just grab a blankie and a pot of tea and have a nap. Well, we can't keep napping. Here we are almost a year in. But that kind of just letting things be, and that, I love how you said, without that expectation that it has to look a certain way, it has to be a certain way. For Finley, your littlest one, I mean, this is a big chunk of her life. She's going to think it's really weird when everybody takes their masks off. It'd be like,
she actually loves, she's not even 2 yet, and so there's no mandate on her wearing a mask when we go to a store, but she's like, wow. Hey, where's my mask? Everybody else has them on.
Exactly. Yeah. I was thinking when I was out in the summertime, I was out and about and saw, these little like 6 month to 2-year-olds, and they're kind of looking, and I'm like, they want one. They're like,
where's mine?
Yeah, and because it's their normal, and so we each are kind of navigating this in an interesting way. So, is there something that you would offer as here is a great suggestion, something that I discovered or something that's really helped me through, that you'd like to share with those who are listening?
Yes, and it's all about a fun way to play with conscious language when it comes to everything that I just talked about. And I have a really cool example that I actually did yesterday, because yesterday I was in that position that I mentioned where I wanted to be productive. I wanted to get stuff done. And there was no way for me yesterday. I was foggy. I had a headache. It was just like my neck hurt and all this stuff. And I was like, I want to record modules for my new course. And then I was like, I can't even read my computer screen. And so I found myself in this position where I was feeling the weight of the deadline. And then I said, oh, deadline, that is such a gross word. Wow. And that's what we call it. If we've got, something we're aiming at for when is this going to be done, we call it a deadline. And so really bringing in conscious language about these things. And I was having a hard time finding an alternative that didn't feel constrictive. So my try it on is like, when you feel icky about something, to say, what is the word I'm using to describe this right now? And how does it feel? And deadline feels like really gross and constrictive. And then I was like, well, what's another way to say it? Cut off? Well, that's just as bad. And so I went to my thesaurus, and this is my try it on, is to go to a thesaurus and start looking through all of the words in the thesaurus for the same thing. And the two that I came to that felt pretty good, first I found time frame, and I was like, well, time frame is neutral. Time frame, it doesn't feel icky. It's not quite like expansive though. And so what I wanted to find was what feels expansive. And then I got to target date. And that might not feel expansive to everybody, but for me, I just had this vision of me standing in a field with a bow and arrow and a target in front of me, except the sky was clear and blue and just open, and there were trees over there and trees over there, but nothing above me. And I was like feeling the wind kind of come across, and I was like, oh, I have a crosswind right now. That's why I'm not going to hit my target today. No big deal. No big deal. I'm just going to wait until the wind shifts. And if I was out doing target practice in a field, that's what I would be doing, right? There wouldn't be any wait, like, I need to hit the target right now. No, I would just be like, when is the moment? When is the moment? There it is. Hit it, right?
Beauty. Beauty. I
And
love
so, and I found this flooded in because I went to my thesaurus. So try it. Try it.
I
If you feel icky about something, go to your thesaurus and see if you can find a better word. And because words are so powerful, and let's pay attention to what the feeling is, what the energy is behind the words we're using every day.
gorgeous. That's gorgeous. I had a similar experience with that, and I came to best before date.
Ah,
Before date.
I'm writing it down.
Yeah, before date. Because that one always kind of like, it's not gonna like, it's still okay the next couple of days. I found it
Yeah,
really
especially if it's yogurt.
exactly, or but it was really funny because a couple of maybe a week ago or something. I don't know about you, but during COVID, I've really noticed how much stuff I had and
Mhm.
how like we're still using, like I haven't bought like all kinds of things. And it wasn't like I was hoarding for COVID. It was like I had it before COVID started and we're still using it. Anyway, the salt grinder, the Himalayan salt grinder. So it finished and it was kind of like, oh, and I looked at it, and it was best before 2019. And it was like, oh, look how
There
we've
doesn't
used
need to be a best before date on salt, though.
but that whole kind of perspective on the best before can be playful,
Yeah.
Like, I love when they have best before on water. It's like, okay, like, what is it going to turn into afterwards? Vinegar, It's and interesting. And when you start to play with the feeling, like you said, of the language, and I love that target date because the wind, beautiful, beautiful metaphor to lift you through those times. I had one on day before yesterday. I came upstairs and Phil mentioned something, and I kind of I was kind of cranky about what I was, it's kind of like I was just a bit cranky, and I'd been on doing 8-minute coaching things with musicians who are all like, looking forward to touring. And I'm like, probably won't happen for a while. Why don't you focus like locally? Anyway, so I said to Phil, I said, they just need to give their head a shake. And he looked at me and he said, that doesn't sound like you. I was like, it's not. I think I'm going to go lie down. And I went and lay down thinking I was going to lie down for 15 or 20 minutes. And I slept, Sarah, for almost 4 hours. Like, I was unaware of how tired I was, but just all those different people online over like 2 hours of 8 minute every, turning around and a 1 minute in between each one, I was exhausted. And in the past, I was able to navigate those things easily. But I'm finding during COVID time, it's like, if I'm a bit snarky, it's just time to go get my blankie and have a nap.
Yeah, and just giving ourselves permission to do that. Like to not have any expectations on ourselves to be the way we were a year ago.
Yeah. And I did have something that I was like really wanting to complete that day, but it was like, it'll still be there tomorrow, and I'll have a better frame of mind rather than try to push that wall or push that river against it. It's like flow with what's going. And so some messages for people in what you're sharing. Thank you.
Mind frame is more important than time frame.
Oh, beauty. Did you make that one?
I just right now.
I am going to write that one down.
You are welcome to it.
Yes. Mind frame is more important. Love it. I got total body goosebumps on that.
Yes.
Well, I think with that, we're going to go to, we've got a couple of people who have joined us. If they've got a question or a comment, just pop your mic on and I'll call you by first name, and either for myself or Sarah. Mind frame is more important. While I'm writing this down. I am not seeing a question at this point in time. So I'm going to ask you just, since you have two small ones, Sarah, what would you, and I know that you're doing some great work, some coursework for moms and stuff, but what would be like one being a mom in COVID time thing that you'd like to share? I know I didn't ask you this beforehand, so, but
That's
just like,
okay. I can work on the fly.
no,
I do it all the time in my sessions. Honestly, it's the same thing as everything I just talked about for what I'm giving myself permission for, to just go with the flow, is to go with the flow of whatever's going on with the kids, because like we're all empaths to some degree or another. We're all picking up on the collective energy, and our kids are wide open, no matter how old they are. Kids are wide open. And so if there's like a whole bunch of heavy stuff going on with the collective energy, it's going to be impacting them in some way or another. And they might be really good at navigating it and they might not. But whatever's going on for them or appears to be going on for them at any point of any day, it might not be all theirs. And they might just be picking up on this stuff. And same with us. Like when we're suddenly all exhausted, we might just be picking up on the collective stuff too. And we can have practices that we do that like clear our energy fields and let go of what's out there and make sure I bring myself totally home to my center. We can do that with conscious intention. Our kids, maybe not. And some of them might be really good at it and some not. So whatever, if they seem to be having a really big upset, just be with them. Just be present and let go of whatever it seems like it might be about. It's probably not about school. It's probably not about the Lego tower. It's probably not about any of those things. What our kids really need right now from us, the very most, is our presence and to just say like, hey, I get it. It's a hard day and that's okay.
Yeah.
And once we've done that, not trying to fix it necessarily, but to say, well, what can we do together right now? What can we do together that can bring us both into a happier place?
Yeah.
Maybe it's, 15 minutes of just tickle time, or maybe it's like spend a lot of undirected or child-directed time with our kids right now, where we're just present with them and doing whatever they feel like doing. And it might be nothing, and it might be something we don't normally do, like letting them climb all over my head, as long as they know they're only allowed to do it during special time. But what they need more than anything right now is just our loving presence, and for us to not necessarily try to like force anything for them either.
Yeah.
Like if they don't want to do their schoolwork, maybe that's okay.
Yeah, and that would be definitely, I mean, as a teacher, I'm not teaching currently in the school system, but I did for 20 years. And that's what I've been saying to parents. It's like, it's okay. What our kids are learning right now are things like being with their siblings in good.
Mm-hmm.
I love when I see, three kids out riding a bike and they're three different ages and they all look similar, and it's like, oh, there's a family of kids out riding bicycles instead of the pack of the 12-year-olds and the pack of the 7-year-olds. Yeah. I think that what we're going to see as a outgrowth of this time frame is that kids are much more connected with their siblings. I know that's certainly true with my grandkids. They were pretty, not that they didn't like each other, but there was a lot of infighting, and they had their own friends, right? And now they really they're a unit. They're a real solid unit, and that without expectation. I remember my daughter saying to me, "Oh, I'm so worried about the kids are going to get behind," and I'm like, "Behind who?
Behind what?"
Yeah, like there is no behind. This is their time to be 8, or this is their time to be 6, and they're going to learn what they need to learn and what they can learn to move forward. And there's no, oh, they're not gonna have this. It's like they'll have life skills, which really is what education is about, is having those life skills. I see there's a question asking for the thing, so I'm just gonna hold that up. It's very, very, pretty. I just scribbled it down. But these are the things that really help me get through, is when I have little, like this is going to be like bang right up on the bulletin board, because that's just a beautiful way of putting it. And I think that that's the same with kids, rather than, the joy of not having to rush the kids out the door every morning to get to, for families that are in that situation. It's like, wow.
And when I think back to a year ago when I mean, Caius was just in preschool, but when I think back to a year ago when I was rushing us out the door every day with a 6-month-old and 4.5-year or a 3-year-old, 3.5-year-old, it was exhausting. Just getting him to school was exhausting. And I was just like having to go decompress at Starbucks every time when I wanted to be doing my work during that time. And right now, they just run off downstairs and play with daddy, and I come and do my work. And like, I realized that's not what my day would look like if he was still going to school.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
I remember saying to my daughters on Christmas, and they were like, "Oh, we can't get together." And I said, here's the thing. I remember how Christmas used to be like, because we had extended families, we had, they have lots of grandparents and many parents. Let's put it that way, okay? And so there was always this like the time frame thing, right? Boom, 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 and to just have a day that there was no expectations, no anything had to happen, and that there's every day could be Christmas. We can
Yeah.
have those kind of no expectation days. I just want to check back in with the folks that are listening in. Any questions for either Sarah or myself, or any comments about what we've been chatting about that you'd like to share? We're happy to have a more than two-way conversation here. I always just assume that people are listening while they're doing something else, like making something yummy for dinner or something. And there's just like, I can't talk. Yeah. Or I know oftentimes when you're online with us, you've got your hands full of children, so you can listen.
Yes.
You just can't talk.
Or this is my laundry folding time. If I'm just listening, it's definitely my laundry folding time.
Yeah. Yeah. Just making that happen. So you've got some cool things, some cool projects that you have, that you want to share that with folks to let them know.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So one of the other gifts that's come about for me as a result of 2020 and COVID, is that for my whole life, I've known deep to the core of my being that at some point I was going to be an author. And 2020 is the year I started writing. And it just started coming in and through and out into the world. And so my second official publication, Wild Woman Rising, which is a collaborative book that I have a chapter in, has been released as of a week ago. And thank you so much. It reached #1 on the Amazon charts in the US, the UK, and Australia. We got it to #3 in Canada. And with me being the only Canadian contributor, I feel like that's actually a wild success. And so that is a super exciting thing. And it leads right into the topic of my chapter is all about actually empowering mothers and my journey towards becoming an empowerment coach who is really focused on empowering mothers, because our society, I don't want to be blaming society, but I'm just simply saying what is. Our society is not set up for mothers to thrive in. There's a whole lot of elements that I feel are really important for mothers to be able to thrive that are just kind of missing, like the real village isn't there anymore. Wild Woman Rising, Sarah Knutson at beliefrepatterning.com. Suze is just holding up some information there for the viewers. And
I was just trying to be helpful.
Thank you. It just happened automatically. And so the chapter actually leads excitingly to the next thing that I'm launching like next week. On February 15th is the official start date of my new course called The Soulfully Empowered Mother. And my goal with this course, my intention, is to lead mothers in reconnecting with the truth of who they are beyond mom, because it's so easy to just slip into, okay, well, now I'm mom, and everything else that I ever was, like, where did it go? Who am I? And then I don't want to see moms ending up an empty nester, then saying, who am I? We can remember who we are right here and now, no matter how old your kids are. And I have dedicated my life to helping us get there. And a lot of that involves redefining self-care, learning how to trust your intuition and your gut wisdom over all of the opinions that are in all these books. Because when it comes to some of the mom issues, like sleep and nursing and schooling and all of these different things, there's like a bombardment of information. And a lot of it makes women feel wrong for the things that they want to do, because it's just like, oh, you can't do this because this. And from the other side, you can't do this because this. But our hearts actually know the way. And so reconnecting with the truth of who we are allows us to re-tap in to the guidance that comes from within, from our hearts, from our souls. And we've kind of grown up disconnected from all of that stuff. So with the course, I'm helping mothers to like get all of that old programming out that might have come from our families, might have come from just our culture, clear it away so that we can have a clear view of who we are and what we truly want for ourselves, for our children, for our families, and then rippling that out into the world. So that is my mission. That is what I am doing. And I invite anybody who feels called to reach out to me so that I can get you connected with it.
And I'm just going to give the email again as well. And you can also always find Sarah or any of our practitioners on the Belief Repatterning Facebook page or the website, either of those. We've got a couple of questions that came in that I'm going to ask if you'd like to take on here.
For sure.
So if you did not have belief repatterning, how might your reality look and feel in the midst of this pandemic?
I don't even want to think about that. If I didn't have belief repatterning, I would probably be a lot more scared and a lot more stressed. And I don't think I would have become an author over the last year, or written a course over the last year, or connected with like what I feel is my soul purpose over the last year. Belief repatterning brought me to all of those things. It was the tool. I mean, it was the tool that brought me to be able to connect with myself in the way that I'm not getting tossed around by the events of the world outside. I move through my day from a place of self-connection first. And sometimes I check the news because it's important to know what's going on out there, but I don't let it pull me down, knock me over, pull the rug out from underneath me. I stand solid in who I am as many days as I possibly can. And sometimes I lie down and have a nap, right? But so yeah, I don't even want to think of what life would have looked like for me if I didn't have repatterning already under my belt. And also, it's never too late for anybody who hasn't already been doing it. Like if you are feeling, freaked out about what's going on out in the world, connect with a practitioner, connect with Suze, connect with me, connect with the repatterning flip your switch experience, because it's a really good place to start.
Yeah, and all of that's available online. So all of our practitioners, yourself included, are seeing clients one-on-one. Many of them are like yourself are offering some courses in a niche in particular. And I love that you're supporting families. My dearest friend Kathleen, when her boys, who are now in their 30s, but when they kind of hit 19, 20, and she said, for all of these years, I've painted this vision for my kids and I've held the space for them and I've launched them. And she said, I kind of forgot to paint myself into the picture.
Yeah.
And that is so common. That is so common for not just moms. I mean, all parents, but it's just like, especially for moms who have dedicated themselves to being moms and are in the position where they can do that, whether they're working from home, or able to be a full-time mom. Like it's a calling, it's a vocation, and the guidebooks out there are, like you say, quite and so really, really grateful that you're putting things out that support and help and help people, show up as their best selves. But Kathleen also said to me, how did we do stuff like this before you figured out repatterning? And I'm like, I don't know. And like you say, it's not too late. Flip, we had so many people come and do it virtually, so you can start right away. Online, if you want the group experience, we also made it like anybody purchases the virtual, they could come to the next online one, no extra cost. Like just be part of it, because it's really important. Like that tip that you shared at the beginning with just getting your mindset around things and having that kind of, how does it feel in my body when I say, even things like, when people talk about the health restrictions, I talk about the healthy community guidelines.
Yeah.
It just feels better. I don't mind the guidelines.
Little reframes.
Yeah. It's the same thing. It still says I, can't have my grandkids over to my house, and I'm okay with that because I know that it's keeping them healthy and it's keeping me healthy. And so, and keeping our society healthy. And so thank you. I really appreciate you joining me today. Any final words before we close off?
Yeah, drink twice as much water as you used to. We're processing so much. And I used to make sure I drank 2 liters of water a day, and I'm up to like 3.5. And I just think it has helped me maintain clarity and focus and help my body process all the energies that are being processed. And I mean, and it keeps us healthy. It allows us to detox body and mind. So yeah, that's my final tip. Drink twice as much water as you used to.
Keeps your brain going for sure. And
Mm-hmm.
another question that just came in: one thing people could do each day to help them get through the day based on belief repatterning. Well, drink water, and I would say be mindful of your words. Um,
Yeah.
and we'll be back next Saturday with another one of our fabulous practitioners. Ali Saunders is going to be joining us to have a chat, and really, really grateful to you, Sarah. Thank you so much for giving us the time and your wisdom and sharing your perspectives on this. And thanks to those people who are listening live and to those of you who are tuning in later. We look forward to helping you flip the switch, reframe your brain, and we're gonna close with this one. Mind frame is more important than time frame. Thanks so much, Sarah. Take good
Thank you.
care.
It's
Enjoy
been
the
my
rest of
pleasure.
Bye.